Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everybody? It's Yoshinator195 coming at you with another old school gaming commentary from Black Ops 6. And this is going to be part 2 to my rant on why governments suck and why they are the most inefficient, almost irritating bodies of an organization to deal with. And this is going to, I hope, speaks to people who have ever had to deal with seeing something that's just been ridiculously inefficient or lazy on the government's point of view and wondering why do they do these things. Because my biggest gripe with the government is that they take money but don't have the incentives to use the money wisely, because nothing will happen to those that are the decision makers for what gets spent on that money. And I kind of want to go into part 2 of this in the sense that taxes are, the idea of a tax system is brought up as kind of like this noble and interesting way to reflect a collective wealth that can allow us some benefits for the whole broader population for, times when we need it. Social security. If you're lucky to have maybe like a country like in Australia where you have healthcare provided from that. Or you look at some, hospitals, emergency services, etc., that are all kind of government-owned utilities. Now, there's a standpoint where like a certain level of tax is fine for that if you want, and you can kind of, let's say you look at Singapore and you take like 15%. But when it gets to a point where taxes get too high, in terms of like taking more than a third of a person's salary, which is kind of the example in Australia. What I noticed as an adult, and I'm not saying this is like I hate paying taxes, like yeah, that's a part of it, but really that the government doesn't actually contribute anything to the economy of the country that they're in. They take money from private businesses and they almost like recycle it, like they take the money and redistribute it back to people, but they don't actually, most organizations in government, they don't actually make profit in the conventional sense of how a private company would do, where they provide a service or a product in that sense. And that's the thing what I hate about government, where it's like you look at like the public sector in Australia, and there's a huge number of people employed in there, like something ridiculous. And those people, they aren't really like, they're providing a sort of service, but it's not one that's necessarily rewarded by the people public, in the sense that like, am I willing to pay you that same money privately for whatever you're providing to do so? Typical example, I guess, is with health or with like, a public garden that is responsible for, by a government body. Am I willing to pay someone this money for that rate to look after the park, or to kind of go, help me with my regular health check? Chances are you probably might be like, no way, that's crazy expensive. And you look at some of the government employee rate salaries, you're like, how are people getting paid this much? And where is this money coming from? It's not coming from people buying their service. It's being taken away from someone else that's been hardworking from a taxpayer. So what I'm trying to get at is like, it's like legalized theft in that sense. And I know the counter argument is like it's a service that we all get as a benefit. You never know when you might need it. What if I don't have the money and I haven't saved from working and I need to go to the doctors? I get that, and there are like exceptions to the rule in that sense, but it really incentivizes people to go seek out healthcare when sometimes they might not necessarily need it as much. Like they might just need to wait a few days for that checkup. If it's something kind of minor, I'm talking about those kind of moments. Or it kind of like even the culture of like, I'll be a lazy worker, and I'm happy to be a lazy worker because I know that the others around me are just going to look out for me. And that's like the abuse of the social system, in the sense that you're not genuinely disadvantaged. You haven't been fallen into an unfortunate circumstance. You're choosing to not work and just rest on the laurels on the backs of other people who are hardworking, because you know that the system, the government's going to be there to kind of look after you. And I totally disagree with that, and I hate that kind of mentality of it's like being a dole bludger, just being a leech on the system. And that's what government is when it gets to that point, because it enables leeches, and it leeches off other people who worked incredibly hard to produce something of value that the market actually wants. I sound like a big capitalist here, but what I mean by that is just it's producing something that people actually want. It's not just saying like, oh, we're going to provide all these services willy-nilly, and we don't care if people will pay for it or not. We're just going to take people's taxes and then fund it. Like, who thought that is like a great idea? That is like bizarre to me. And I just think I hate that so much money gets funded into the governments for tax rates that are like a third or almost like half of someone's salary, to then not have the incentives and to do good things with that money, and to have lack of consequences if like, oh yeah, we funded this plan, or we did this report, this proposal, or we just did this investigation, but I did a bad job. But it's okay, I'm still going to have my work, and I get my salary and my wage. Nothing changes. To be fired from a government job is like next to impossible. Whereas in a private company, if you are like, not being productive and not earning your wage and pulling your weight, then there's a discussion had, and it reduces any inefficiency. Like, you need to be on top of your game. You need to be doing things that are smart and worthwhile. And that's why government, like the incentives and just the whole system is like, it's flawed. and it really is, in the sense that, you look at the people that work in government, they're all like very lovely people, but they're bound by a horrible system that I just feel like they're trapped by, and they have no reason to care otherwise, because the system itself is designed not to care. So I'll wrap it up there. That's my kind of rant and ramble for, goodness, just my absolute disgust with government. I mean, there's a couple of good things that it's there for, and there are times, maybe I'll go into a video for that in the future, but let me know down in the comments below, have you dealt with some really frustrating government situations where you're just dealing with bureaucracy? Oh, even the bureaucracy. The red tape, that's a whole other video in itself. It just grinds my gears. So let me know if there's some stories where you've dealt with government, because I'd love to know. Because man, for me, it's the bane of my existence sometimes. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.